Kyren Williams is a huge dynasty winner. We'll tell you why next.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. You can also check me out over on the Locked On Cowboys podcast. And joining me today, as always, is Michael Fabiano. You can follow him on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. You can also check out all of his great work over on SI. And on today's show, we're diving into some running backs that maybe had some questions or have some questions going into the 2025 season, but not Kyren Williams, Fabs, because Kyren Williams just signed a 3-year extension with the Los Angeles Rams. It's going to pay him $23 million guaranteed over the next couple of years. What does this mean for his dynasty value?
It's nothing but a good thing because there's no questioning whether or not he remains with the Rams or not. He's under contract now until 2029, when he'll be 29 years old. And when you look under the term underrated in the dictionary, I think Kyren Williams' photo is there, especially in fantasy football. We're talking about a guy who's being drafted as the RB11 right now. His ADP is in the mid-30s. But over the last 2 years, look at the touchdown totals that he has scored. They're phenomenal. I mean, 31 total touchdowns. And in the last 2 years, there's only 5 running backs who've scored more fantasy points combined. Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, and Breece Hall. And do we talk about Kyren Williams in the same breath as a Gibbs or a Bijan or a Saquon? No, we don't. But statistically, he's been right there. And we all know that Sean McVay's offense is always going to be productive from a real and fantasy football perspective. And now you know this kid's not going anywhere. And like Blake Corum, has been in the league and didn't really make an impact last year. They've got Jarquez Hunter, who's getting some buzz. But this is Kyren Williams' backfield. And I think the only question that you have about Kyren for this upcoming season and maybe into the future is the quarterback situation, because Matthew Stafford is still dealing with an injury, and he's not going to play in the preseason or participate in camp. So that's a bit concerning. Jimmy Garoppolo's getting the run with the ones, and I don't know that that's a great sign. So, but overall, this is a fantastic bit of news if you have Kyren Williams in Dynasty or you're planning on drafting him in Dynasty.
I've thought Kyren has been underrated even before the contract extension. We actually talked about this about a month ago. There were whispers coming out of Rams camp that they were close to getting a deal done. Now it's officially done. And I don't understand why the ADP is so low. And I hate to pick on this guy because we picked on him a little bit over the last couple of days, but Breece Hall is RB8 right now. Kyren Williams, RB11. There's about 8 spots between those two players right now. And I don't get it. Like, they're the same age. They're both 24 years old. One is in a fantastic offense with a fantastic play caller in Sean McVay. The other is not, right? Like, even if, Matthew Stafford is a little bit banged up, it's still a better situation than Justin Fields. And I think you could even go higher than that. I look at someone like Jonathan Taylor, who I love, right? Like, Jonathan Taylor is 26. He's got a long history of injuries. That offensive line is nowhere near as good as it was a couple years ago. I'm not sure how Kyren Williams isn't like a consensus top 8 dynasty running back. And the fact that he's locked up for the next 3 years, which is basically his entire prime. And in dynasty leagues, of course, we only really care about 2 years for running backs. There's just very, very few running backs right now that I would take over Kyren Williams because he feels like one of the safest guys out there.
Yeah, he is. He is going to be 25 this month, but still, I mean, he's still in the prime of his career. So Kyren is a guy that, once again, look at the touchdown totals. I mean, this guy has been an absolute end zone magnet over the last couple of years. And I don't think that's going to change. Now, again, the quarterback situation is maybe a little bit concerning. I mean, I'm not freaking out about it just yet, but I think regardless, even if Jimmy Garoppolo has to open the season as a starter, we're fine with Kyren Williams. He's got everything that you want. He's been mostly durable. He gets into the end zone. Again, 6th most points among running backs in the last 2 years. And the dudes ahead of him, outside of Breece Hall, are all elite names: Gibbs, Bijan, and Barkley. Bijan. I gotta get that in my brain that it's not Bijan anymore, that it's Bijan. It's like more fancy now. I got to remember that. But
would you take Barkley over Kyren in dynasty leagues? Because that one's close for me, because Barkley's a lot older, but man, that situation is so good. And if you're looking like over the next 2 or 3 years, I can see the argument for both. I probably would lean Barkley just because I think he's a superior talent, but I'm curious on your thoughts.
No, I'd rather have Kyren Williams.
Okay. So you're aggressively drafting Kyren.
Well, no, because I feel like the floor is coming for Barkley. He's gonna, I don't know if he's gonna fall off a cliff, but I'm concerned about him this season. And if he's not great this season and then he turns 29 and you go into 2026, then all of a sudden you're starting about thinking, maybe should I have sold him in 2025 when Fabiano warned me to do that?
With Kyren, it does seem like a case of, because he was a day 3 pick and didn't do a lot as a rookie, we always think that his talent level is way worse than the guys like drafted around him. Like Breece Hall, right? I understand why Breece Hall is flashy. We saw him produce a big, during his rookie year, but over the last 2 years, it's not been close who's been the better fantasy asset. I don't think it's going to be close this year as to who's the better fantasy asset, but we continue to draft Hall based on his upside, while Kyren Williams just keeps giving us, top 6 RB finishes every single year.
It's a strange phenomenon that he is not getting drafted higher, but for people who are smart enough and who listen to this podcast and you're in a startup, you know what to do.
Yeah. Last thing before we go, you mentioned the durability. Now, Kyren has done a good job of playing through some injuries, but there is a little bit of an injury history here that maybe has some dynasty managers concerned. 2022, he had a broken foot and an ankle sprain. 2023, he had an ankle sprain that landed him on the injured reserve list. He also had a hip strain. He had a broken hand, and then he had a foot injury in 2024. Again, the injuries over the last 2 years haven't prevented him from putting up big fantasy points. And obviously they're not a concern for the Rams because they gave him a lot of guaranteed money on Tuesday. It is something just worth mentioning. But if we go through all of these running backs inside the top 10, top 12, almost all of them outside of the rookies have some injury concerns, which is why I wouldn't panic about it.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I mean, I was worried about Kyren going into last season. Remember, because we were talking about he had a foot injury, and we're thinking, well, he has had some boo-boos in the past, and they drafted Blake Corum, and you're thinking, oh man, maybe I need to drop down on my rankings Kyren Williams somewhat, and he ultimately paid dividends once again. So listen, injuries are a thing in the NFL. We all know that. Running backs take the most physical abuse of any offensive skill position player. So you're always at risk. So, you definitely want to keep tabs on the battle between Corum and Hunter to see who's going to be the 2. You always want to have that handcuff if possible. But like you said, he's been a battler, man. He's been a warrior. He's fought through injuries and he's produced.
All right, let's talk about some more running backs that have questions going into the upcoming season. And let's start with Kenneth Walker, who just got back on the practice field after dealing with a soft tissue injury. Are we concerned about him moving forward? We'll discuss that and more next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We love FanDuel here on the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, and summer sports are in full swing. And whether you're about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it just a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are out getting sunburned at the beach. I love FanDuel. It's easy to use, it's fast to pay out, and it makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. And if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. New customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. You can also go bet on the preseason action, which starts tonight in the NFL. So open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Let's discuss some other running backs here that we have some questions about. And let's start with Kenneth Walker, who is dealing with some kind of lower body soft tissue injury. It also could be one of those things like, hey, I'm in my final year of my rookie contract. My hammy hurts a little bit. Why don't you give me $30 million and it'll suddenly feel better? Right now, Kenneth Walker, RB13 in dynasty leagues. Where do you stand on him?
He's complicated. Okay. You know how people put it's complicated in terms of their relationship status. Like my relationship status with Kenneth Walker is complicated. I love the talent. I've loved him ever since he came out of Michigan State. And I think he's a really good fit for Clint Kubiak's offense, right? He's a guy who prioritizes, the zone rush. As long as Walker can stay healthy, he's got top 10, top 12 potential, but that's a big if. And so when we talk about handcuffs, and it doesn't matter what kind of league you're in, if it's redraft, if it's dynasty, whatever it is, this is a must handcuff scenario because I don't want to have Ken Walker maybe as my RB1 or at the very least, my high RB2 and have to worry every single week that if he gets hurt, I don't have Zach Charbonnet. And Zach Charbonnet's looked good in camp. We know what Charbonnet can do. I wish Charbonnet was on another team as the featured back. He's better than some of the guys who are projected to start. I can tell you that right now. Imagine him being in Cleveland with that Judkins situation. I mean, geez, that would be great for having Charbonnet on a fantasy team. That's not the case, obviously. Maybe that'll change in the future. But if you draft Ken Walker and you don't draft Zach Charbonnet, you are guaranteeing yourself potentially multiple weeks of agita, as the Italians like to call it, where you will have an upset stomach and big time nerves because you're not sure whether Walker is going to play. And if he's hurt, who do you have to replace him? Charbonnet is the perfect handcuff. And I tell people this all the time. I've already done a couple of drafts. And to be honest with you, I landed Walker in both drafts. Why? Because other people are worried about him. And I ended up saying, you know what? I'm going to take him. But I had to take Charbonnet maybe a round or two earlier than his ADP because I needed to guarantee that I had him. Now, some people may want to play that game. Some people are fine with it. I'm fine with it. Walker is very, very talented. They're saying that this injury, the foot injury, is not something that has kind of lagged from, last season when he missed a whole bunch of games. This is something that, people shouldn't worry about has been a long-term issue. And once again, I mean, Clint Kubiak also likes to use, that featured back. So is there concern, Marcus? Yeah. But that's a scenario that you can control, right? Zach Charbonnet is somebody that you may have to draft a couple of rounds before ADB, but get him because then you feel real comfortable with Ken Walker. Otherwise, listen, I'll be pumping down a lot of Pepto during the course of the season.
I struggle with Kenneth Walker because I do believe in the talent, but you look at this situation in Seattle. It's a new offensive coordinator that's going to use a lot more wide zone concepts, and we'll see how Walker does with that. I've got no doubt that he's going to be fine, but a new offense, I think this could be one of the worst offensive lines in the league, an unstable quarterback situation. That's somebody new with Sam Darnold. We'll see how long he's there. And then there's the injury history here, Fabs. Like, I'm just going to run through all the injuries since Kenneth Walker has entered the league. 2022 hamstring pull, 2022 groin pull, 2022 ankle injury, 2023 groin injury, 2023 abdomen injury, 2024 abdomen injury, 2024 calf strain, 2024 ankle injury. I don't imagine, like, as he gets older that he's suddenly going to get healthy. Maybe it's just a string of bad luck. I know he's only 24. I think he is so much more talented than Zach Charbonnet that I'm actually okay just drafting Walker and leaving Charbonnet to somebody else. Like, if Charbonnet ends up having to play a couple games, whatever, you get a startable running back. But I don't think you're going to win your league because of Zach Charbonnet. I do think you could win your league if Kenneth Walker stays healthy because he can put up those type of numbers. Would I draft him at RB13 right now or value him in that range? Probably not, but I do like him overall.
Look at the numbers that he put up in the beginning of last season. Like, he was right up there with the elite players at the running back position. He was averaging over 20 points per game. Yeah, and all the injuries that you mentioned, yeah, it's worrisome. That's why you get Charbonnet. And even though that the talent we feel like is much better with Walker than Charbonnet. The drop off in points is not drastic, right? I mean, it's not like if Kyren Williams got hurt and they went to like a Blake Corum and Jarquez Hunter committee. Well, you're screwed then.
Yeah.
This is one back who will replaced by one back. And so if Charbonnet comes in and averages 15, 16 points per game, he can catch the ball out of the backfield where Walker was averaging maybe 18, 19. It's a little bit of a drop, but it's not significant. That's why I implore you, if you draft Ken Walker and you don't get Zach Charbonnet, you are going to feel it at some point during the course of the season, because you can't in reality expect Ken Walker to play 17 games. You can't.
I know.
You have to hope he plays 14, and he is going to miss time. It's just what he is. Like, injured guys typically don't, suddenly become healthy. They deal with these bumps and bruises throughout their careers. It's been the same kind of thing with Walker too, with the lower body injuries, the abdominal issues, the groin stuff. So just ensure yourself, back him up with Charbonnet. And at that point, I have no concerns whatsoever, because I feel good about the fact that if Walker's in the game, he's going to get 18 to 20 touches and he's going to be the lead back. And if he's hurt and I have Charbonnet, nothing's going to change in terms of the workload.
I will say, I do think there's a chance that we get, because of the Kyren Williams deal. I actually think the Kyren Williams deal is really important for a couple different players. James Cook is one of them. Yep, James Cook sitting out in Buffalo because he wants a new deal. Cook wanted to be paid like closer to Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry money. I don't think he was ever going to get that. I think this deal will help set the wheels in motion a little bit. I also wonder if it could help someone like Kenneth Walker, who's going into the final year of his deal. And if Kenneth Walker gets a similar deal, I'll actually start to raise him up in my dynasty rankings a little bit, because that means that they're going to be committed. Zach Charbonnet is just a backup here. But if we get to the regular season and there's no deal done, then it's a little bit like, okay, hey, is he going to be on a new team next year? Is he going to be franchised? What's going on? Just something to keep in mind. A couple of trades that have happened over the last few days that I wanted to mention to you, just to kind of tell me where you think you're at with Kenneth Walker. So we had Kenneth Walker straight up for Christian McCaffrey.
I'd rather have Walker.
I would rather have McCaffrey.
He's 29, and you want to talk about a guy who's always hurt? I'd rather have a guy who's 24, 25 who's getting hurt more than a guy who's 29 getting hurt.
Yes, but I think the thing is, if both players are healthy, and again, I know McCaffrey I know
that's a big if.
And I know McCaffrey is way more likely to miss time than what Walker is. McCaffrey just gives you such an advantage at the running back position that Walker doesn't. I think Walker can be like a borderline RB1, high-end RB2, where McCaffrey's a threat to lead the league in fantasy points per game.
I feel like I'm the only analyst in fantasy football who does not like Christian McCaffrey.
Well, I'm in agreement with you. I think he's still overvalued in dynasty leagues, but I would prefer Kenneth Walker. I would prefer McCaffrey here.
You had a moment of clarity and then it went away.
That's all right. It'll happen again. Kenneth Walker for Jameson Williams. This happened 4 days ago.
I'd rather have Kenneth Walker.
Okay. Kenneth Walker or Michael Pittman and Jerry Jeudy.
No, sir. Walker.
Okay. Kenneth Walker and a 3rd round pick for Tyler Algier and a 2026 1st round pick.
Nope. Rather have Walker.
Okay. Let me give you one more. Kenneth Walker for Caleb Williams in a non-Superflex league.
No. Kenneth Walker.
So you're getting aggressive here.
Well, no. Listen, it's a non-Superflex league. Okay. And I get
Can I give you one more?
I
got one more.
Worried about Caleb Williams. I got to be honest with you. He's really been inconsistent in camp.
I know.
Really inconsistent. And then I go back to, and again, I'm nuts with this stuff, but sometimes it bears fruit when you look back historically. Give me a Bears quarterback who they drafted, who was great. Give me a USC quarterback outside of Carson Palmer, who's been great in the NFL. Listen, you can come out and say I'm an idiot. That's totally fine. Wouldn't be the first time. Won't be the last. But I start to hear stuff and I'm like, is it going to happen again? Like, the Bears are right there with the Jets when it comes to quarterbacks. Give me a good Bears quarterback. Historically one.
They'll be fine.
Hey, McNown. I mean, like, no. Give me one.
Last trade. Kenneth Walker and Jaden Reed for Saquon Barkley.
No, I don't want Saquon Barkley in Dynasty right now. No, sir.
You would rather have Walker straight up?
Well, no, there was another piece of that.
Yeah, Jaden Reed. Yeah.
I like Jaden Reed.
I guess we just disagree. I'll take the Barkley side here. I'm a little bit lower on Kenneth Walker than
Do I
you.
want one maybe good year of Christian McCaffrey versus maybe 3 or 4 more good years of Walker? Do I want maybe a year and a half or 2 good more years of Saquon Barkley versus 3 or 4 years of Ken Walker? And honestly, like Marcus, did you know this? Last year, he was legit averaging 22 points per game before he got hurt. He was awesome. He was amazing. He was going into last year, I said, this is the year he's going to break out. This is his big year. And he was on pace to do it. And then all of a sudden, obviously, got hurt. But you're talking about McCaffrey, older, injury prone. Barkley coming off a massive season, every negative trend going against him this season. And he's going to be 29 next year. Or Walker. It's all risk. I'm going with youth.
All right, let's talk about Naji Harris, who continues to rehab from his eye injury. We'll talk about his dynasty value next. This episode is brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. And this year, Fabs and I are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. And to celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. And to kick it off, they are dropping Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a new killer way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's only one team left standing. And with the season right around the corner, now is the perfect time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. And if you're more into the classics, you can still play in head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. So stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out Locked On Bets. Betting experts Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers have daily MLB locks and can't miss football futures. Find Locked On Bets on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, let's talk about Najee Harris, who is dealing with an eye injury that he suffered on the 4th of July, a fireworks issue. We still don't know exactly what the injury is, but we saw Najee Harris walking laps at Chargers practice. It doesn't seem like he's going to be returning to the field anytime soon. What does this mean for the entire Chargers backfield?
This doesn't seem like a superficial injury.
No.
Like superficial to me means that, you have some sort of mark, something like that shows that there was some sort of trauma, there was some sort of injury. But superficial means that it's not serious. Why, if it's superficial, is Najee Harris not practicing? Yeah. Why, if it's superficial, is he just walking around practice with a helmet and a weighted vest on? If it's not just superficial, why is he on the active non-football injury list? I don't get it. I really don't get it. Again, maybe it's just my definition of superficial, or maybe the Chargers are just blowing smoke up our butts with this thing, and maybe it's worse than they're saying. Because again, I'm just literally superficial. It's a superficial wound, which means that it don't hurt. You can see it. Something happened, but it ain't that big of a deal. Obviously, it's a big deal. Now, I understand, with the eye and stuff like that, but if I have a superficial injury to my eye, it's like maybe over here, right here, you can kind of see, but I didn't get in the eyeball. So I can see I'm fine. It's superficial. Something's weird. I don't know. Something's strange there. And this is doing nothing but accelerate the value of Omarion Hampton, who's right now the RB6, and I don't know why he's not higher. Why he's going what, behind Bijan, Ashton Genty, Gibbs, Barkley, why? and Devon Achane, which I can understand. But Hampton's even, I mean, if you're talking about redrafts too, I mean, his value is going up as well. Like, I think Omarion Hampton could end up being a top 10, top 12 running back from a fantasy standpoint as a rookie.
I think he could be even higher. Honestly, even better.
Because you look at just historically what Greg Roman's offenses have done. And by the way, you guys all know my mindset when it comes to, the addition of Keenan Allen, which we've talked about and how it affects Ladd McConkey. We're not going to get into that. But Naji Harris right now is the RB39. His ADP is in, the 110s. He's at 117, 118. And he's on a 1-year deal. There's a lot of question marks. I just don't understand why he's not back on the field. And listen, I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night. It just seems fishy to me. Whole thing seems fishy to me. And when he comes back, like, is there a world where he's the starter? Okay, maybe, but like, why would they do that? Not in camp. Hampton's clearly their guy. I mean, he was a first-round pick. That doesn't happen among running backs very often. And this Chargers offense suddenly has got a lot of talent. You may think that Keenan Allen's old, but I still think he's capable at 33 years old. And so now you've got a lot of mouths to feed. But I think the one guy that's going to be the consistent centerpiece of the offense is Omarion Hampton. And so when Hampton got drafted by the Chargers, we were all kind of like, right. I mean, it's good long term, but this year Najee's there. I don't know what's going on with Najee right now. And I don't think that Naji Harris is a super meaningful threat to Hampton and his workload, especially now, Marcus, with this superficial eye injury.
Yeah, so I hate talking bad about players when they're dealing with injury, but I would care more if I thought Najee was good. And I just don't think he's very good, honestly. Like, I think he's a former first-round pick.
Najee Harris has a lot of good things to say about you, Marcus Mosher.
Well, I know. I think the first-round pick status is still boosting him up a little bit. Like, if he were a third-round pick, I don't want to say nobody would care, but I don't think we would be talking about him as much as we are. We're also talking about somebody who has had a lot of wear and tear on his body. He's at over 2,000 career touches in college, in the NFL.
He's never missed a game in the NFL.
No, he hasn't, but he looks significantly slower now than he did even earlier in his career. He's been dealing with foot injuries. He played at Alabama, where we know that these guys wear down really fast. I just didn't think he was going to be that big of a factor anyway this year. And now that he's not practicing, he's going to miss, I would assume, all of training camp, all of preseason. It's going to be really hard for him to jump into a situation where he hasn't practiced at all, into a new look offense for him. Oh, by the way, they have a running back that they want to get touches to anyways. It's also not like the Chargers gave him a bunch of money. They gave him a 1-year deal where it was basically like $4-5 million total. He's just not somebody that I'm factoring in at all when I think about the Chargers offense moving forward.
See, I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but I am far less worried about Harris's impact on Hampton's close to, if not true, featured role in year one. A few months ago, I would tell you, Marcus, that Harris is probably going to be the starter, and then Hampton would end up taking the job at some point during the season. I no longer think that.
Okay, let me put it like this. The Raiders went out and signed Raheem Mostert this offseason to a lesser deal than what Najee got, but it wasn't all that much lesser. And Raheem Mostert has been a more effective and efficient running back than what Najee's been over the last couple of years. Now, there's more injury concerns.
Wait a minute. Raheem Mostert had one good year, and it was a complete outlier.
Well, he's had a couple good years.
And he's 32?
But they're both on 1-year deals. My point is that we don't think about Mostert at all when it comes to the Raiders, right? But we are worried about Najee Harris when it comes to Hampton. I'm not saying that you should worry about Raheem Mostert. I'm just saying I don't really care about either of these guys. I think the rookies are going to get a lot of touches, and that's kind of the point here.
Raheem Mostert was a nice story. I don't think he's any threat to Ashton Genty. If Najee Harris didn't have this superficial eye injury, I do think he would be somewhat of a threat to Hampton early in the season. And then Hampton kind of takes off and flies away with the job. But now I don't think that anymore. And that's why I've moved Hampton up. I mean, he is, I would rather have him than Saquon Barkley. I can tell you that right now. In a Dynasty League, I would rather have him more than Saquon Barkley. I'd rather have him more than Christian McCaffrey. And I wouldn't think twice about it.
What about Devon Achane?
It's close.
Okay.
It's close. I probably would go.
him.
I'd probably go with Hampton,
so.
just because of the age and because, Achane's a littler dude and, you
Yep.
worry about the durability a little bit, but that's close.
All right, that is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty Football your first listen every single day. On Friday's show, we're going to do a rookie mock draft, kind of where everything is at in August right now. We'll talk about Omarion Hampton. We'll talk about Ashton Genty, of course. So tune in for that. Follow Fabs on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. Download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms, and we will see you right back here on Friday.